Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Josh. I'm the singer and guitarist for 1 out of 10. I've been helming this project for most of my life at this point. Been about 10 to 12 years since I started writing. And today we'll be talking about the new surprise single, Growing Up. We have a new music video out for that. And our 4th album called Like You Never Left.
Why don't we start off with your band name? Just give us an oversight of like 1 out of 10. That kind of suggesting like a feeling of being outside of the majority, I'm guessing, not fitting in, or being exceptional maybe, So how does that idea show up in your music and your identity as a band?
I think before it was just like a silly name. Like when we started a long time ago, like in high school, we were like, oh yeah, like we would make up statistics like, oh, 1 out of 10 doctors recommend this band. But it's been kind of freeing for us because now it's like I feel like there's no pressure to stay in like one mold, I guess. I feel like it's been on our last album it was really very acoustic driven, a lot more very emotional, and it was like full of grief. And on this album it's a lot more we just kind of wanted to have fun with it and like be faster, be more. I definitely think there's more of a technical sound on the album. Like my guitar playing got better. We're hearing more of like the other vocalists, Tyler and JT, are playing more, or singing more even. And it's been very I don't know, like socialist. So I guess the name now is like we just have, it's an excuse to have fun and like kind of try out different genres, different types of songwriting. Whereas before it was just something stupid.
That's a cool shift, like evolution of the sound and everything, right? Well, before we talk about the album, I'd love to like understand the moment that you felt the band's voice really clicked, right? Was it like a rehearsal? Was it a show? Anything that you realized that this 1 out of 10 band is actually sounding like this and still evolving, like you said, but was it like kind of a moment?
Well, it's always been, there's been like 3 constants in the band, and that's been me, my brother who drums, his name is David, and Tyler. And even Tyler, sometimes he would be like, I don't want to play right now. And because that was all the way back in high school. I was like almost more than 10 years ago. So we were really just bouncing between me and Dave, playing terrible covers. And then I think once COVID happened, we had like no room to rehearse with each other. So we were really just me. I was basically just me in the garage writing all the time. And Dave would play drums, and then Tyler found his way back after COVID started lifting again. And he was like, hey, there's some really good stuff on here. I think I want to write again with you early. I want to try crack writing it, take a crack at writing with you guys. And around that time our bassist moved to Texas. So we needed to have another bassist. We have a bassist, and our friend Mark decided to fill in. He was like, I'm learning bass right now. And I was like, you're in. So after that, we also had a keyboardist named Dustin, who, COVID lifted, we started playing some shows together. And to me, it was like, okay, here's a band. It's like evolving. It sounds really cool. We put out 2 albums, with Love and with Rage. And I was like, this is exactly how I felt in my like early 20s, And then into around 2023, Dustin left the band also. And I was looking for a keyboardist to fill in, and I asked my friend JT, or JT was like, he would show up to shows sometimes and be like, I played keys, And I was like, hey, do you want to try like rehearsing? We could just like write some of his own music, just see how it feels. And eventually he was like, I'll play with you guys, And I was like, dude, hell yeah. So I think around 2023 was when I felt this was the most true to the name of 1 out of 10. Like everything like clicked. Mark was a really good bassist. He's our most probably hardworking of us. JT is the most naturally gifted musician because grew up playing in church. And Dave and I and Tyler have just been known each other since for so long. You know, it feels like good chemistry right there. And then the other two guys were just a natural fit. And I think our previous album is where I was like, wow, this is the most cohesive 1 out of 10 venture to date.
And the album's description mentions wanting to show the good, the bad, and the ugly, right, of a relationship, you know, the dynamics of it. And when you started writing Like You Never Left, what emotional truth were you trying to capture? What that, you know, you maybe haven't explored in your previous projects?
I think I've explored heartbreak and yearning and stuff like that before, but I was so I guess for like a lack of a better word, I was just young, you know. I feel like I've grown so much as a person, and the rest of the band has also similarly gone through so much, you know, individually and together. Um we started writing some of the singles last or 2 years ago. Oh my god, it's been so long. So we just got in the studio with our friend Miguel to record a bunch of stuff that we had been writing. And at the time, Tyler went through a breakup from a relationship of about 10 years. I wish he was here to join us because, woof, man, I'd love to hear his thoughts on it. But it was just so hard for him, and like he needed like to have an emotional outlet, I think. And you know, I think the band is an amazing way to like really just like get everything out emotionally. And I'm in a pretty stable relationship right now, so I feel like I've experienced stuff like that too, but it was fun to kind of dive into like past emotional stuff. um and I know JT is he had a breakup a couple of years ago also, so it was just fun to kind of explore the various feelings of growth and like kind of backsliding and everything, the guilt, the, you know, what you could have done differently, the regret. But just do it in a sense where we're kind of like propped up by each other and it's emotionally supportive of each other. I don't know. I feel like it was also a good excuse to just kind of dive into like sounds of like 90s, early 2000s rock, but in a different sense, you know? I don't know. We have a song that kind of sounds like Fall Out Boy on there or something, so it was cool.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, it's really cool hearing the evolution of the track and going into the single later on, how it kind of like has this very like surf rocky, there's like acts to it almost, I feel like segmentation wise. And it also reflects more in the album. And that also leads to like, you mentioned like the album goes from sounding like it gets heavy, like with the relationship themes and more complexities, but instrumentation wise, lyrically. So how did you use that sound and instrumentation to reflect that emotional shift?
I feel like in the title track, it's called Canopsia. It's a made up word. I found it on the internet. It's not real. But it just means like the eeriness of a place that used to be lively and like happy that's now suddenly like quiet and you know, no activity. And I felt like that was a great kind of thesis for the album. And I wanted it to go definitely like you said, Sal, I wanted it to go from like very, very light to gets pretty heavy, you know, like that. I feel like that's a pretty good audio, like, I don't know, translation. That's not even the right word, but yeah, it's a good reflection of like the relationship. Obviously, like if anybody's experienced a relationship, starts out light, you know, and then as life goes on, it gets heavy. Life will throw things at you, and either you stay with that person or you don't, you know. So it starts off super light with Two of Cups, a little bit more romantic songs like Keep Driving and French New Wave and Goodbye. And as there start to be like cracks in the relationship, we wanted to have like a tonal shift for sure throughout the album around the midway point. And then at the end, we wanted it to get heavy. Like we just wanted to, honestly, I just wanted an excuse to like make a guitar solo that tapped, like with like tapping on it. So um again, like it's good to have these things that make me write songs in a different way, like force me out of my comfort zone. And I think the other guys agree because we have JT hitting some like Patrick Stump vocals on Exorcisms and Affirmations, and I wanted to have like kind of double time drums for Dave. He gets into some double kick at times. Yeah, I love forcing the guys to change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very emblematic of a relationship. Like pushing change, but also inspiring your bandmates to do that as well.
Sure.
And that also goes into like when I was listening to it, or when listeners are listening to it, front to back. That's usually like how I like to introduce myself to a new band, a new album. And I felt a shifting point within the album, but I don't want to give it away. I don't want to kind of influence your answer. So I would like you, as the writer, as the person bringing this album together and arranging the songs how you want them to hear, the listener to hear it. Was there a moment in the album or in the record that feels like the turning point in that story where it gets heavier emotionally or instrumentationally?
The interesting thing is, I mean, this is the most I've given up myself to the other guys, because I'm like, I wanted it to be so collaborative that I was like, I need you guys to write. I want to write songs for you guys, like, so you can sing. And I want to hear what songs you guys have. It was very like free flowing. Like it's songs, instead of like us having a very clear story, I wanted to just have like different like vignettes of a relationship, of other people's relationship, not just mine. So maybe the story is a little unclear, but I feel like there's a pretty good through line of like what we're experiencing together and individually. Because it could be said at the beginning, there's already a change in a relationship with French New Waving Goodbye, where that's JT's song, and it's very early in the relationship, but it feels like it's unstable, but you just want to keep going with it, Or I don't know, Keep Driving to me is it's about me just braving the 405 traffic to get back to Santa Monica to my girlfriend. And I think there's a Tyler song on there called What's in a Year, and he had written that years and years ago. I'm talking like 4 to 5 years ago. While he was still dating his previous girlfriend. And to me, that felt like a shift even back then for him to be so like open about what's going on. I think that's the turning point for sure, actually, in this album, now that I'm just word vomiting right now. Because all the songs that go before it are they're much more lighthearted, I guess. And then from that point on, the subject material gets more serious, because then right after that is Headlights, which is about a failed relationship already. And then we just get heavier in our instrumentation also. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good area for it to, that's where the relationship takes the turn,
Yeah. That's kind of where I was feeling it, kind of like by Headlights and then through Orpheus, because Orpheus, the name Orpheus as well, is just emblematic to that. And that also goes into the single, like as I would say like the third act of the album goes into the heavier feelings, heavier sound. The new single, Growing Up, the surprise single, right? Feels like a fitting title with the coming of age theme, right? Where does that song kind of sit emotionally in the emotional timeline of the album? End of relationship, beginning of a new one, kind of just reflecting. Where does that sit?
I think that's the 5 stages of grief, I think that's acceptance. That's the last one. I think we were really choosing between either ending on the title track, Like You Never Left, because that's a big moment on the album where all 3 of us get to like sing a verse. Never done that before. In the history of all mankind, that's never been done before, even with the Beatles.
1 out of 10 people do it.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. Um, so we were really choosing between, oh, let's end on Like You Never Left, or oh, let's end on Growing Up. And once we listened to the whole album all the way through, I think we collectively decided it's got to be Tyler's breakup song that ends the album. And I feel like that rings so true for him, you know, and he really, I don't think he wanted to sing it at first, but I was like, dude, I'm writing the song for you. I think it's gonna go crazy, and I think it allowed him to have like some sort of emotional catharsis to kind of just get all the feelings out. Obviously, you know, therapy helps and like talking to your friends, but I think this was a good avenue for him to channel the frustration and the guilt and the eventually like release and relinquishment of control there. Because he ends it by saying, "I smiled when I said it, and so did you," you know? Um, and I think that's the big thing at the single is, you know, at the end of it, you can hold on to those feelings and feel terrible, or you can let go and just let life take you to wherever you're supposed to be, you know? And he's doing great, dude. Yeah. He's hot. I love that
He's
guy.
winning at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big reflection moment, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of sparking that reflection of, looking back at a relationship and just like looking at your growth, being happy with it. You know, that's really good. And would you say like that's kind of what you hope that fans are listening to the album, listening to that single growing up, and they're reflecting on the same moment or similar moment of like realizing that they come so far from that point that either it's a low point or a high of a relationship, and just being satisfied with the routine of growing out with someone, or just it doesn't have to be a fallout specifically, but just finding your alignment within yourself.
Yeah. And like, even if it is a fallout, you have to recognize that you'll be better, you know? The other person they'll get over you, you know? Like, that's just how it goes.
True. So going into the album, also going back into, let's go into like the songwriting process, right? The style, the creative process. You had like different members kind of transition into the band and rotate into the band, some returning as well. And you're a West Coast band, right? Found in like LA area, right?
Yeah, we grew up in Vail together. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, so that kind of like inspired the sound. I'm thinking like the surf rocky sound, and also like there's like the beach gothy sound. There's so many inspirational tones in there, right? And I would say your music becomes kind of like a frenetic surf rock kind of like energy, very relatable lyrical moments. It doesn't get shoved, or it doesn't get like buried like a bedroom pop or bedroom rock kind of thing. It's not like muffled. So it's out there in the front. So when you're writing songs for this record, what did the lyrics kind of lead the music, or did the instrumentation come first with that?
I have a very funny way of writing music where I like to I'll just jam, you know, I'll jam out by myself, I'll jam with the other guys, just chords, structures, and then after that I'll parse through and like get a skeleton of a song first. And then every time I have like some sort of interesting phrase, I have a separate notes document where I just put any catchy melody line or like interesting lyric that I could possibly use. I just write it down as much as possible. And then wherever I am in the songwriting process, when I get sick of recording, I'll look through and see what lines fit whatever song that we're writing for, and I'll do that. It might be different from the other guys. I know I wrote Headlights based off of Headlights was like, that's the first like real riff that happened for the album because JT made it up, and I decided, hey, what if we used that riff and put it all over the album? And you can kind of hear it all over the place. We end Distant Stars with it. I snuck it into French New Wave and Goodbye, I think, for the Midwest emo breakdown. Yeah, it's I think for me it's just like kind of like two separate ideas, and I put them together for songwriting and then like lyric writing, which is it's nice, you know. The other guys they're so charitable to me, you know. I love that how collaborative they are and how open they are to, you know, giving it to us, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like that musical motif kind of like repeating itself and sneaking it in, because it brings more of a identity, personal, touch to the songs. And I think that's really unique. That's really unique that you kind of like snuck it in there. everything. Um, so the soundtrack to a coming of age movie. That's somewhere I read that somewhere in a press release about the band and how you describe yourself. And I thought that was emblematic to the journey and the acts, and that's kind of like why I started using that as a descriptor to this. How you're presenting the album and how there's not just motifs in it, but there's a story and like a timeline to it. It's really cool. And if this album was actually, soundtrack to a film, what scene in the movie would you think represents like the scene or the heart of the movie that, the needle drop of it?
Um, I really think that it depends on the movie. If it's super bad, it's got to be growing up or something. Um, yeah, I feel like I this song that I think really represents us as a band in general for our whole discography. I think there's a song off our previous album called Michael Sarah. That's just like the the 1 out of 10 party track, super bad track, because it's just about having a good time. Really fun riff. But off this album, I think there are some good contenders for like a maybe an angsty rom com. Um, Probably be like, Distant Stars is a pretty good one. That's about raging against the universe, making sure that no matter what it throws at you, you're gonna stay together. Or, maybe it's a sad rom-com or a sad romantic movie, like a real A24 uh no, like a Wong Kar-wai movie. That would probably have to be like Headlights or something. But I think those would be some pretty good needle drops in those types of movies. So
Yeah, put it out to the universe. Listen to all that filmmakers, try to get this album out there. So now that the album has, lived out in the world for about a month now, what do you hope that the audience, the listeners, everyone out there takes away from the story they told with Like You Never Left?
I think what I really want people to know is, in general, like, we write music for people so they know that they're not alone. Everyone has felt these things before. Everyone has written music that makes them feel this way before. We're just trying to do it in our own way, and let them know that heartbreak is a very human thing. And the person that you're worrying that's going to get over you, you're going to get over them too at some point, and whatever love that you can get at the current moment, hold on to it. And when it's over, it's over, it has happened. Enjoy the memory. Don't cling on to something that is hurting you still. Even like the past relationships that I've been in, I'm like, I can't be mad that they happened. They changed me into a different person who I am today. I wouldn't have written half the songs on this album if I hadn't gone through that.
There it is, a poetic start to a fruitful career. Just having having something to write your music to, having to moose in a way, whether that's emotionally, just story wise, anything it is. But you're right, yeah. We kind of get through it, grow from the experience, and that's the best part about being an artist, being a songwriter as well. Well, with that, is there anything I haven't asked you that you just want to talk about? Anything about the album, the single, anything you're looking forward to, tours, shows coming up?
Yeah, we released the music video for Growing Up. It's on our YouTube channel. It's about Tyler because he's the one who sings it, just having the worst birthday party of his life. It was directed by my friend Travis and my friend Chris. Shout out to the guys who worked super hard on that. We got it out just in time. And we have an upcoming show on April 4th in Los Angeles. We'll be opening for Sept's EP release. We're going to be playing with Nervous Kids and our buddies in Road Trip. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you guys for listening to the album. Thanks for the interview, Sal. It's been a pleasure. If anyone wants to take us on tour to open for them, let us know. Yeah.
Awesome, Josh. Thank you again. Where can listeners follow you guys at for your band?
You guys can find us on Instagram at @1_Outta, OUTTA_10. DM us with whatever. I respond to everybody. We are also on TikTok under the same username, I think. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on all streaming stuff if you want to support us. Best ways through Bandcamp. Yeah.